Recording. And I'd like to say welcome to you all. Welcome to this latest Northern Automotive Alliance webinar on managing stress and building resilience. I'm going to hand over briefly to Mr. Paul Jones, the CEO of the NAA, to give us an introduction. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest in our series of webinars and what's becoming quite a well-established formula. And I think a topic which is probably close to all our hearts at the moment in what is now our 6th week of lockdown. So yeah, managing stress, building resilience. Paul, very interested in what you've got to say this morning. So I'll hand back over to you.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Welcome to everybody. Let's crack on then. So we're going to look at a few different areas as far as managing stress and building resilience is concerned. First of all, we're going to look at the definitions of stress and resilience, look at human needs and how those are identified, some of the causes of stress, look at a few areas of focus for you personally and from a work point of view, and finally look at some quick tips just to overcome, to build resilience for yourselves and to manage stress for yourselves as well. So let's get started first of all with a definition of stress and resilience. And the important parts here is in terms of stress, it can manifest itself in different ways. It can be physical, mental, or emotional factors that cause stress, and it's a bodily or a mental tension that we suffer from. Now, resilience, some people don't really understand what resilience is, but building resilience is really important. It's the process of adapting well in the face of those adversities or traumas or significant sources of stress. And certainly at the moment, as far as what's been happening at the moment over the last few weeks around the world and in the UK, that can definitely be classed as one of those significant sources of stress for some people. And as much as sometimes we look at resilience as the ability to bounce back from those particular traumas, it can involve some really profound personal growth for people as well. So it's really important to bear that in mind. So if you look at human needs, a lot of you will recognize this. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We like to add 2 onto this because, especially when you're working at home now, and particularly for those of you who have families, you'll recognize these 2 additional ones. I think even more basic than the need for air, water, food and shelter is the need for a good Wi-Fi signal and decent battery life. I know it's mentioned in our household more than once a day. Definitely, why is the Wi-Fi going down again? And then there's another way of looking at human needs. Mr. Robbins comes up with 6 really interesting ways to look at the 6 human needs that we all have. And those are certainty. It's one of the top basic human needs. You need to feel safe and secure about the future. And when you need positive recognition, it might be accompanied by a need for certainty that the recognition is authentic and it will continue. There's no point giving somebody a pat on the back if you don't really mean it. In order to live a life filled with certainty, your life has got to stay the same. It's almost an impossible expectation to fulfill. But then on the flip side of that, there is another need for variety, which uncertainty. It's the flip side of certainty, and it's important to understand the beauty of uncertainty. Those who experience this as one of their top basic human needs can take it to an extreme at times as well, and can exchange in frequent job or relationship changes for the sake of variety. Or take unnecessary risks to achieve that adrenaline jolt that they crave. But if uncertainty is one of your top 6 basic human needs, then you'll be unafraid of taking risks and won't avoid new situations or people. Significance is really important as well. It's among if significance is among the top 2 of your 6 human needs, then part of meeting that need includes receiving recognition. Connection and love are really important, obviously. We all feel the need for growth over time as human beings. And, you know, finally, that sense of contribution, that sense of the, you know, the secret to life is giving. Those who experience contribution as one of the top basic human needs knows this better than anyone. One of our points of culture, our top point of culture within Action Coach, is abundance. That having more than you need and being able to give back. Really important at this point in time. Really important. When you look at those human needs, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs from an employee engagement perspective, it gives a slightly different view of those basic needs. If you look at the bottom level, it could be that people are feeling disengaged. You know, they're just here for the money. They're surviving. They're a clock watcher. Might be a job's worth. They're going to go and get another job when they can. On that second level, you know, it's safety and security. They may be interested in overtime. They probably have more sick leaves days than they need to. We'll all know people like this within or that we've come across before, if not within a current organisation. When they've got that sense of belonging, they're almost engaged. You know, they know they're part of something bigger, and they're probably quite proud to work there. But then again, they might leave if they, you know, if they're tempted to, and probably don't see a career development path for themselves. When it gets to that fourth level, then they are actively engaged. You know, they feel like they're a vital part of the business. They feel important at work. They feel that they're an achiever. But quite likely, they'll be really busy and quite possibly stressed as well. And then when you get to that final level, there's very few people get there. Probably only 10 to 15% of employees on average reach this level. Feel that they're a real high flyer. They love working where they work. And they also feel that they inspire others to do the best as well. And they're actively engaged in helping others along that path. Really interesting to look at that particular area. The next part of this is how, when you look at the causes of stress at work, and these are taken from the Health and Safety Executive. And the Health and Safety Executive list the following as causes of stress at work, and they make complete sense. So when you look at demands, those can be those are going to include such, you know, issues such as the workload, work patterns, whether you work in shifts, how the work patterns are changing during the day and the week, and the actual environment that they're working in as well. Control, so how much say do the people have over the way that they work? Is it a dictatorship, or do they have some control over the way they're working? Support includes encouragement, sponsorship and resources provided by the organisation, their online management and their colleagues. It's just as important to, you know, to have a great team around you. The relationships that people hold within work are key as well. You know, it includes promoting positive working to avoid conflict and dealing effectively with unacceptable behaviour. The fifth part of that is role. Do people understand their role within the organisation? And does the organisation ensure that roles aren't conflicting? I'm sure we'll all have come across situations in the workplace where we have employees who are saying, well, why is he doing that? That's my job. Or vice versa, that's not my job, that's his job, but you're asking me to do it. Why am I being asked to do it? So it's really imperative to have a really clear definition of roles and responsibilities. And change. You know, we're in a period of change right now. And you know, how is organisational change, large and small, managed and communicated is really important. The keys that come up when we're looking at workplace stress as far as the HSE concerned, the key things that are said are things like that they're not able to cope with the demands of their job. They're unable to control the way they do the work. They don't receive enough information support from management. Having troubles with the relationships with the colleagues at work or their line managers and others, or potentially are being bullied in some way. They don't fully understand their roles and responsibilities, and they're not engaged with the business when a business is undergoing change. They don't feel part of that change. So let's have a look at the change curve. Now, this, when you look at this in terms of the situation that we've got at the moment, if you think back to the beginning of March, end of February, beginning of March, we were probably all still in denial that it was going to really impact us in the way that it's impacted other areas of the world. But quite quickly, we'll have gone down that slippery slope and some people will have experienced some of these feelings of shock, fear, and anger and frustration. But you'll have noticed over the last week or two that the general feeling has started to change now. And more organisations are starting to reopen those that were closed, not because they had to close, because the government told them to, but because they chose to, and now beginning to reopen and look at ways of, I hate to use this word because it's been used so much, but pivoting to try and provide different products and services to their original products and services to make sure that they can start to reopen and do business again. So there becomes some creativity, acceptance of what's happened, hope for the future, and enthusiasm. But you can see there are certain points on this change curve where stress is going to really impact people and organisations. There's another curve which is really interesting to look at as well, and that's the learning curve, because there are points through the learning experience where people are going to suffer from stress as well. So if you look at the learning curve, you can see that this isn't exactly a smooth curve, but this is more realistic about what the learning experience looks like. You know, when people are starting to learn new things, it may look like it's going to be fun, then they realize it's quite hard. There's going to be a stress point there. And how do you identify that as a management team or business owners in your team or in yourselves to make sure that you can cope with that? And then you just keep doing it and you're learning and then you think you get it, and then maybe you don't get it. And then you feel like you don't know anything, and that stress kicks in again. And then as time goes on, it starts to make sense and you become accomplished at it, and then you realize that actually you are actually quite good at this. But there are points on that learning curve as well where you can suffer from stress, and you need to build resilience into your daily lifestyle to help you with that. So if you've got any questions as we're going along, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. We're going to move on now to look at that first level of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that first level of personal well-being. And there are 5 areas that are really important for you as business owners, for your senior leadership teams, and for your employees. And I would actively encourage you, as we do with our organisation, to make sure that all of your employees are doing the right things for their own personal well-being. And the first one is diet. It's really easy when you're working at home to get the snack box out. It's really easy to, but human beings have an inbuilt force that makes us run away from pain and towards pleasure. And if that biscuit barrel's in the cupboard downstairs in the kitchen and you've got a difficult phone call to make, then you're more likely to go off and make a brew and get the biscuits out than make that difficult call. So diet is really important. Make sure you've got the right things in the fridge. Make sure you don't have the wrong things around and easy to get to, and watch your diet. Make sure that you're eating healthily. Exercise is vitally important. We're allowed out for an hour a day to get some exercise. There's loads of different stuff available on TV and the internet in terms of exercise for you to do. So make sure that you're exercising well. One of the major relievers of stress in lots of different studies that have been done is exercise. if you get lots of exercise, then it will help you to release stress. Hydration is really important. Make sure that you're drinking enough water. Make sure it's water rather than alcohol when you can. I'm just going to stop and have a quick drink of water myself. And make sure you get plenty of sleep. Sleep's a great recharger of batteries. And one of the things that not a lot of people still do is meditation. Meditation can really, really help. I started using an app called Calm a few months ago, and it's really helped me to focus, to be present, to make sure that I'm energized and I'm recharged for the day ahead and during the day. I tend to meditate at a lunchtime for a few minutes as well. There's lots of different apps. I think there's one called Headspace. Calm is a great one. But just look at something to maybe help some meditation and encourage your employees to do the same thing. There's a great book by a guy called Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the things that it's important to look at are the things that you can control. Look at the things that you can control and the things that are outside of your control. And actively listen to your employees when they're talking to you. And if they're talking to you about and they're making excuses or they're blaming other people for things that are happening, coach them back to the things that they can control. You know, as business owners, we can all control our own words, our actions, our ideas, the effort that you make, your own behavior. What you can't control are other people's actions and words and other people's behavior, other people's feelings and other people's mistakes. There are things that you can do to mitigate what other people are going to do, but ultimately you cannot control what other people's behaviors are and what they're saying. So focus on the things that you can control. It's a great book to read. It's Stephen Covey's Habits of Highly Effective People. Really, really interesting book to read. It's been out for a few years now. Let's have a look at the next level and look at some safety and safety and security. Now, safety and security comes in lots of different forms. Safety and security for people is about, for your team, they have jobs. They want to know that they're secure as best as they can at this particular point in time. So it's really important. Communication is something we're going to touch on in a little while. But the way things are at the moment, it's hard for many to move past this second of most basic needs because of the situation that we're in at the moment. And it causes individuals to need structure in the workplace with a good chain of command and a process for the duties so they feel confident that they're doing the job correctly. And systems within your business and structure within your business are really, really important at this time for your employees. So just very quickly, we're going to look at 9 keys for you that you can look at in systemizing in your business to give your employees that extra sense of security and safety in the current climate. And the first one, in fact, we'll group the first 3 together: your vision, your mission, your culture, giving your employees a direction. Making sure you share your vision statements. If you don't have a very clear vision statement now, then get in touch with us. We can help you to build your vision, your mission. Having a culture statement is vital. Within Action Coach, we have 14 points of culture around positivity, honesty, fun, all sorts of abundance, gratitude, all sorts of different things that are important to us as an organization. So what are the most important things that are important to your organization in terms of your culture, your values? If you're a particularly small company, then it might be your own personal values, which you need to implant onto the company. So both your employees, your customers, and your suppliers can see what your company stands for, your culture, your rules of the game. Once you've got those in place and you've given your employees some direction so they know where they're heading towards the vision of the company, then make sure that you've got really clear goals for them, for the company and for them. Make sure that your plans are up on the walls for everybody to see, so everybody knows what direction they're going in and what are the key goals and the key milestones for your company. Don't keep them to yourself, share them with your team so everybody can join in and knows where they're going. You've probably heard the acronym SMART before. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. The R can also stand for what resources you need, but we'll go into that in detail if you come onto a goal setting or planning workshop with us. Make sure they're specific, that they're measurable and achievable. You know, there's an old adage, you can't manage what you can't measure. And it's lasted the test of time for one reason, and that's because it's absolutely true. So make sure you've got some measurable and specific goals. Then have an organization chart. I'm always amazed by how many companies we go into, and when you talk to the employees, there's no real organization chart available to them, so they know exactly where they are in the structure of the company. They know what the routes might be in terms of them progressing. They know who they report to, and ultimately whoever they report to reports to. So they've got a very clear line of responsibility, and they know which area their roles and responsibilities are in. From a planning perspective, it's great to have an organisation chart now of what your company looks like now, and maybe what your organisation chart is going to look like in 5 years' time. And we'll cover that on future workshops on planning. Next, make sure that all of your employees have a positional contract in place that talks about the key roles and responsibilities that they have. It's astounding how many employees don't have a really clear idea of their specific roles and responsibilities within the organization. So a positional contract should set that out. It should also set out how they're going to be measured. What are the key areas that they're going to be measured on, and what those KPIs are going to be, the key performance indicators. What measures whether they're being successful or not. Because as an employee, it's really important to know if you're doing a good job. Once you've got those positional contracts and KPIs in place, along with personal development plans, all those kind of things, then the next stage is those how-to systems. Now, when a lot of people look at systemizing your business, the first thing they turn to is the how-to systems, the operations manual of how to do specific tasks. How-to systems are important, however, so your employees know for each element of the role that they're undertaking that there's a system in place to do that particular role. It also helps when you bring in new employees in to have systems set out so everybody knows exactly how to do something. It makes it a lot quicker to train people, and then there's a standard for them to work to, and how-to systems help with that. Lots and lots of different ways to put those together. And then finally, management systems in terms of, you know, meeting structures, reporting structures, all those kind of things are really important as well. All of those things in terms of systemizing your business give structure and security to your employees and your team and your senior leadership team within the business. The next area we'll look at is that sense of belonging that we talked about. And in terms of a sense of belonging, if you're going to create a great team and people have that sense of belonging in that team, then there's 6 keys in creating that. And the first one of those is strong leadership. Now, the word strong means different things to different people, but we're not talking about a dictatorial leadership here. There's some real keys to being a strong leader and being open with your team, being honest with your team, making quick decisions, you know, making strong but quick decisions, saying what you say you're going to do, you know, follow through on things. Loads of different things around leadership. We run leadership workshops. You're more than happy to come on some of those if you want to. The second element of that is to have some common goals. Share your goals with the whole of the organization. You know, we talked on the last slide about setting goals and having a plan in place. It's really important that your team understands where they're going as a team. So they have a shared responsibility then in helping you to achieve what you're doing and having that direction that everybody's pointing in the same direction. You know, if you haven't got those clear goals, then it's almost like having a rowing boat with 3 people rowing in one direction and 3 people rowing in the other direction. If you've got a very clear direction, you've got common goals for the business, then everybody's going to be singing from the same hymn sheet. We also touched on rules of the game last time. The culture of your organization is vitally important. in terms of having a great team. Having culture statements, having common values, and we often say, look, always recruit on attitude, not on skills and experience first. If you get people with the right attitude in the team who understand and align with your culture, your values, your rules of the game, they're more likely to go above and beyond the call of duty for you. So make sure that you've got really clear culture statements. We talked about action plans already. Make sure the plans are really clear. Make sure your individual teams have got plans, and support risk taking. You know, when we're learning, we're growing, we don't always get things right. So it's really, really important to support that learning and that growth within your team and support risk taking. So people don't feel stressed about taking on a new challenge because somebody's going to tell them off if they get it wrong. And then finally, the last key to a winning team is all about involvement and inclusion in everything that you're doing. And one of the keys to that is having great communication. Now, great communication, we touched on in the last webinar on virtual leadership, but I'm going to run through some of the things that are really important for you. And the first one is the platinum rule. We talked about this last time. I'm not going into detail on this, but the platinum rule is simple. Talk to people in the way that they want to be communicated with. We all have different behavioral profiles and we all like to be communicated with in different ways. But when you are talking to other people, to have the most effective communication and the most productive communication, you need to make sure that you're communicating with somebody in the way that they like to be communicated with. For some people, they just want highlights, quick decisions. For other people, they want lots of detail. They want to take the time over making a decision, look into all the pros and cons. There's other areas of DISC as well, but make sure that you communicate with somebody in the way that they want to be communicated with. And then choose the right method to communicate, depending on the message that you're trying to get across. In some ways, sometimes you might need a really urgent, quick, one-off message that you can communicate by text or WhatsApp. There may be other things that need a richness of communication, which mean you need to either record a video or go on a Zoom call or a Skype call with somebody to make sure that you can get your points across in the right way, and to make sure that they see your body language and they hear the intonations, the tone that you're using. Because it's really easy. We've all come across situations where you've read an email or a text message or a WhatsApp message and you've taken it in completely a different way to how it was meant. Or you've sent a message to somebody and they've taken it in a completely different context to the way that you meant it, because they can't see your body language and they can't hear your tone as you're communicating. So make sure you choose the right platform and the right method to communicate with your team. One of the other ways to make sure that your team are included and have that sense of belonging is to have a daily huddle. I'd actively encourage you, it depends on the size of your company as to how many people are going to be involved in that huddle. But if you've got a larger company, then maybe you want your senior leadership team, the 5 or 6 people on your senior leadership team in a daily huddle. And then they can repeat that with their individual teams. And then if you've got an even larger company, their team leaders can repeat that with their teams. Just to make sure that you've got everybody on board, you know what the goals are for the day, you can identify the required results that are expected of the team that day. Every individual member of the team can contribute. They can talk about their to achieve list for that particular day and what help they might need from other areas. You can celebrate wins with the team. It's really important that you celebrate wins on a regular basis. Look for small wins. It doesn't have to be a major win. It doesn't have to be a major new customer. It can just be a small win. Somebody's achieved something in their own individual list that's important. And check in often with your team as well, with your senior leadership team. And then acknowledge that we're going through a period of change. There's some great videos out there from leaders of companies. The CEO, President CEO of Marriott put a fantastic video out to acknowledge the difficulties and the change that we're going through at the moment, but support people through that change. Really important. We're just going to go on to some quick tips for building resilience and for for looking at managing stress. As you can see in terms, we've got a list here. And the first one is it's just maintain a clear sense of purpose for your longer term goals and priorities. So stay calm, just tap into your inner resources and maintaining that clear sense of purpose and perspective. Secondly, nurture the relationships. Really important, the quality of your relationships with other people influences how emotionally resilient you can be in the face of crises, and you know, whether it's what we're going through at the moment, or whether it's an emotional or a physical crisis. In general, the more quality social support you can draw upon from family and friends and from other people within your organization, the more flexible and resilient you can be in stressful situations. Focus on your sphere of influence. You know, rather than assuming your first answer is a solution, suspend judgment if you're in the middle of a change, and look at the other areas that you can get support from to make sure that you're making the right decisions. If you've got conflict, then actively manage and resolve that. Use organized, structured approaches, particularly when you're managing ambiguity. You know, if you've got those systems and structures in your organization, then you will also have systems and structures for managing conflict within your organization. There's loads of great resources out there for that. If you need any help with that, then give us a shout. But just Google, you know, conflict resolution. There's some fantastic resources out there. Set and preserve boundaries. Just rather than assuming your first answer is the solution, suspend judgment if you're in the middle of a change, but you know, preserve those boundaries. Make sure that everybody understands what their specific roles and responsibilities are, and you know, make sure that you can identify the correct solution rather than just going maybe with your first gut feeling. Explore your value systems and identify your own personal sense of direction that you can rely on to make choices. You know, make sure you've got balance. Resilient people approach life as meaningful, and their optimistic view lets them see each new day with a new set of opportunities and choices. So be proactive and understand when to ask for help. So don't carry around stuff that you don't need to. Just make sure that you're looking at new sets of opportunities and choices each day, and get rid of some of the baggage that you might do by talking to other people. And then it's really important to manage your energy. You know, we talked about the things that you can do in terms of diet, exercise, hydration, sleep, and meditation. Manage your energy. Resilient people take a really holistic perspective on their mind, body, and their emotions when they're confronted with ambiguity and anxiety. Take time to pause and focus on your own needs. You know, that's why meditation is really important as well. And notice when your emotions arise and what you can say to yourself in an unfamiliar situation. And always develop a focus for the positive, keep an optimistic outlook on life. Let's have a look at some quick tips for managing stress as well. Decluttering's, you know, these are for you as individuals now. Decluttering is just such a great way to manage stress. There's nothing worse than walking into an office with a desk full of paperwork. So decluttering your desk is a really great way of doing that. And also, just become aware of how your thoughts and emotions drive your actions. Clear your head. You know, take a walk if you need to. Talk to a friend. It's really important. Problem shared is a problem halved. We always say that. Put a big grin on your face. If you smile, you know, if we focus on the positives, then we feel more positive. You know, the law of attraction says what you get, what you focus on. So focus on the positives. And sometimes use that magic word, just say no, be clear about your boundaries. You know, it's quite often it's very easy as a business owner, as a manager, to say, well, give that to me, I'll do it myself. And you take on stuff that really your team could do. There's a great book called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. I'd actively encourage you all to read that book. It's a great way of getting your employees to do the work rather than taking those monkeys onto your own shoulders and ending up doing work that really your team should be doing. Don't have a bad day, just have a bad 10 seconds, a bad 20 minutes, whatever it takes. Just don't wallow in self-pity. Look on the positive side, look at what you can do, take responsibility and ownership, and actively take responsibility for what you can do to overcome adversity. Visualize calm, breathe deeply. Breathing, active breathing is a really great way of helping with positive emotions. There's been some really good studies done on this. Some studies say that, you know, if you've got one negative emotion, then you've got to have 3 positive emotions just to balance that out. If you want to thrive, then you need 11 positive emotions to balance that one negative emotion. So really important that you focus on positivity, and active breathing can really help with that. You know, so just try. There's some great apps for that. You know, I have a watch that's one of these health watches that's got an active Fitbit. It's got one of those active breathing settings on it for a couple of minutes. Even if you just count, so take a deep breath in and count to 5, and then take a deep breath out and count to 5. If you breathe in and then as you breathe out, you take longer to breathe out, it will calm you down. So be a good leader. Be a good leader. Get out of your own way as well. Reduce the distractions in your life. You know, reading emails can take up a day, and all of a sudden you've got to the end of the day and you've still got all the work that you had to do beforehand still there on the table. So make sure that you can reduce the number of distractions that you have. They really take a lot of attention and energy. Or, you know, the door is always open to your office, things like that, where people come in and distract you from doing things and having informal chats. And it costs a lot of attention and energy. That instead, just focus on your priorities. Focus on your priorities. You know, working from home can help with that, but then you've got other things in the background when you're working from home as well, with family and other issues as well. So get a real structure around your day. Make sure that everybody in your household has got a structure. You know, if you need to, put a diary together of who's going to be looking after and homeschooling the children and when. One of our clients has got, he works from home now, and his wife's also working from home, different jobs for different companies, and they've also got a daughter. So they've put a diary together of who's going to homeschool the daughter when and play with the daughter when, while the other one gets on with work. So make sure that you've got those kind of structures in place for your home environment as well. And, you know, we've talked about this already, but get back to the basics in terms of your own physical well-being. Just to summarize, look after yourself is the most important thing. Make sure you've got structure and direction for your employees and for yourself. Give them a sense of belonging through having a great team, and having that structure and direction through those 9 keys for systemization. Make sure you've got those 6 keys for building a great team in place as well. If you need any help with those, then please give us a shout. Make sure you've got clear and honest communication. Have a great team and be a great leader. Be a great leader. If you haven't watched the webinar on virtual leadership, then please do so. So this webinar is designed as a workshop. So, you know, we always say that doing training, webinars, attending learning exercises, none of that works unless you actually do something about it afterwards. So now I just want you to take a minute and write down 3 specific action points. If you'd like to stick them into the chat or the Q&A box so we can see those action points that you're going to take as a result of listening to this, then please do that. And also, if you can complete the feedback form, I've just put in the chat box a link to the feedback form. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. It's really important to us to get some great feedback on every webinar that we do. So please, if you can click on that link. If you miss the link, we'll send it out to you immediately after the session. But if you could fill in that, it only takes about 2 or 3 minutes to complete, and then just click the submit button. We'll get that back today, so we can work on the points that you make ready for the next webinar. on that form as well, there'll be the opportunity for you to check a box if you want some further help in terms of what you've listened to today and what you've seen today. We're gifting our spare coaching slots, and we'd be more than happy with each of you to do a one-to-one coaching session for an hour and a half to help you with the specific points that have come out of this session or other challenges that you've got in your organisation. There's also the opportunity to sign up for workshops that we've got coming up on leadership and planning. Some free workshops coming up, so please feel free to sign up for those. You can get those through the feedback form, so you could complete that. So just while you're writing down your action points and while you're completing your feedback forms, I'm going to show you a quick video from some of our action coach clients about why having an action coach works for them. So hopefully you can hear this on your screen now.
So for anybody looking to hire an action coach, I would definitely 100% recommend it. I was very sceptical to begin with, but I'm completely sold on what they can help you achieve within your business.
We saw results with Action Coach within the first week. It was instant and fantastic. Action Coach has helped me grow a team that believes in my culture and values.
We've moved from a turnover of 1 million to a turnover of just under 4 million, and profitability has increased enormously.
They ask you the questions that maybe you don't want to answer, that challenge you in the right places, and I think make you realise the bits and pieces that maybe you don't see being in the business day to day.
Our sales 12 months before Action Coach were 1.3 million. With Action Coach now they're 2.8 million.
And what it did, it actually focused our minds, made us sit down, think about what we wanted, where we were going.
They really understood what position I was in and where I wanted to take the business.
Our net profit previously was 66,000 and during coaching it's gone up to 200,000.
If you're serious about building your business, give it a go. You've got nothing to lose.
It's great to go on holidays and know that everything is ticking along and working without me there.
The core foundations that it puts in place that you may already think that you have nailed down, I can almost guarantee you don't.
It's not just about your business and making money and what you want to do going forward. It's about how you improve as a person, how you improve around others, how your management and your staff look at you. And I would strongly recommend using an action coach.
And the profit has gone up 530% since we started coaching. So a real big difference.
I now work on the business, not in the business, and I work far less hours than I've ever worked, which actually really has given me some amazing family time.
If you do the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get a different result. You've got to change something. If you want a different result, then you've got to do something about it. An action coach will allow you at your pace to do what it is you want to do.
Being in a business is very insular, and having somebody from outside and keeping you on track with what you're planning to do has certainly helped. I feel that all businesses could benefit from action coaching.
Okay, so hopefully we've only had a couple of people put their action points into the chat box now. If anybody else wants to put their action points into the chat box and the Q&A box, that'd be great. It's always great to have some accountability for things that you're going to take action on. If anybody has any questions right now, we've got a few minutes left for Q&A, but if not, then we'll wind this session up in a minute. Anybody wants to speak to us, then you can contact us through our email, which is bolton@actioncoach.com, and you'll receive an email from us afterwards with our contact details on as well. We'd love for you to connect with us on LinkedIn if you haven't done already, and on our Facebook business page as well. It'd be great to see you there. And we've had a couple of comments in here, so I'm not going to name names, but we've got take more daily exercise, make more touch points with colleagues whilst under lockdown, focus on positives, limit negative thoughts, to purchase and read the 1 Minute Manager book. That's the 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. If anybody's not read Stephen Covey's Habits of Highly Effective People, then I'd actively encourage you to do that as well. I'll put a couple of links to those books in the email that we send out afterwards as well, so you can get that. We'll also send a copy of the slide deck out to you for your own reference as well. If nobody else has got any questions, then we will finish the webinar there. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for staying with us for the hour, and have a brilliant end. Have a great weekend recharging your batteries, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing you soon.